Chris Nelson, and this is my 1998 Harley-Davidson Sportster. We started with a completely bog stock 98 Harley-Davidson XL1200 Sport, and the only stock parts that remain are the 4-plug heads. This is an S&S 1250cc Hooligan V-twin. It's got cams in it, new ignition, everything wired up to a Moto Gadget MO unit, which is controlled by Bluetooth. Saddleman in Compton, California designed this amazing king without queen. If you didn't notice, this bike is extremely tall, and part of that reason is because we have 16-inch piggyback progressive shocks in the back. I could tell you more about this bike and why I love it, but the guy who should be telling you about it is Shaun Guardado. So I'm here on Angela's Crest. I'm gonna ride home to Long Beach and stop by and tell you a little bit more about the build. All right, here we are at Suicide Machine Co., and I'm with Shaun Guardado, the builder of this ridiculous machine right here. So he's gonna tell us a little bit about what it took to make the Giraffe from hell. So while you've built a lot of Sportsters in your life, you never built one this tall.
I most definitely have never built a motorcycle this tall. I'm not that tall of an individual, so typically the bikes that I build, and especially the bikes I build for myself, go the opposite way. I'm always trying to bring the bikes lower and closer to the ground, that way I can fit on it and I can ride it and not feel like a little kid on a giant motorcycle.
And so, you know, and obviously I have the exact same problem, right? I'm so short that no, but seriously, like, we knew coming into this that we wanted a fist in the wind neo chopper Harley-Davidson Sportster, but then we got it up on the rack and
got you on it, and
it looked fucking ridiculous.
Initially the proportion of you sitting on the motorcycle, I was like, man, how the hell is this gonna come together? And I know you had really expressed interest in my turbo drag bike, and to me that's probably one of my most favorite motorcycles, because that is the first Harley that I built to really fit me and exactly how I wanted it, from the fairing, the tank, the fender, everything about that bike was something that was very special and close to me. And I know you've shown interest in it, and that was something that was a huge inspiration on this bike, but it was going to be at the complete opposite end of that spectrum. I feel like they are at heart sister bikes, because there's a lot of styling that was taken from that bike and incorporated into this bike and tweaked just a little bit to make it its own kind of thing. But you know, from the fender, the style of fender that we use in the rear, to the tank, to the fairing, and yeah, I know those are all components that are all components of every motorcycle, but the way that, I guess, the tank had been Frisco mounted, same way that it was done on that bike. The fairing had been modified on my little drag bike, so you know, something on this fairing is a little bit different as well. And the rear fender, same kind of fender. So, you know, there's a lot of things that are similar but different in their own way. There's a lot of black on the bike, and I'm definitely partial to the color black, but there's also enough offset in it to where it's not just like we spray bomb the whole bike black, you know. There's a lot of things and details on the bike, and they kind of get lost because everything's black, but I think that is something that, I mean, that's something that I'm about, you know. I'm not about, hey, look at me, hey, look at this, look at all this crazy stuff that we did, or all of these crazy components, or anything like that. You could have the best shit, which there's a lot of really very expensive pieces on this bike, and, you know, everything fits together real well, and it's hidden under a layer of black, but it forces you to stop and take a second look and then appreciate the bike and all the components individually, and appreciate how they all come together to form the bike itself.
That sense of discovery is very important to you.
Yes, that nailed it right on the head, exactly. The sense of discovery is huge, especially with this bike. Going into the project, I've had things that have been in my mind for a really long time, like the undertail exhaust, the fairing, kind of the double headlight with the fairing kind of thing, but, you know, I had never had the opportunity to really do those things on a bike to where it would flow nicely, you know. The exhaust was probably one of the most difficult things, not only from a design aspect, but also kind of from an engineering thing, just because the bike is a Harley, it vibrates a lot, everything on the bike vibrates a lot, and I didn't want to have the issue of the exhaust holding you back from riding the motorcycle. You want the exhaust to be there, and you want it to be different, but you also don't want that to be the focal point, you know, because it's such a departure, especially in like Harleys, even in the custom Harley thing, undertail exhaust hasn't been done all that much, and it's because it's difficult. You know, you have the pipes, and you don't want that one thing to take away from the whole bike, or that to be the main focus. Like, yeah, it's a cool aspect, but that isn't that cool. It's cool, it's different, but it shouldn't be the only thing that bike has going for it. You know what I mean? So to be able to pair that with the fairing and make it happen, I mean, just even the color scheme, just all black everything, is something that I've been really wanting to do for a while. I just haven't had the opportunity. So I was really thankful that you gave me the opportunity to do what I wanted, but also get these ideas out of my head and into real life. So now I can think of different things and just what the next thing is going to be. Biggest things when it comes to building a motorcycle is overall balance, and I don't know that a lot of people really understand that or apply that to building a bike. I'm not trying to sound pretentious or whatever the word may be. I just not trying to critique other people's shit unnecessarily, but to me balance is super big. The weights of the bike, the way that it looks from left, right, from the ground up, looking down on it, and just where the center and the mass of the bike is and how everything relates to that. You know, you can't have a whole bunch of mass at the front and have a really small, not a lot going on tail section and all that, because it's just not really balanced of a motorcycle. And this bike, you know, it's really high up, which we knew from the get-go that it was going to be, so then that kind of had a really big influence on the way the rest of the components, the tank position, the fender, the seat, and all that really needed to come together on the bike. So initially we had the tank mounted up very small, you know, it was only, I think it was an inch and a half or something farther forward, and I don't know that anyone would have really said anything if we had left it there, but you know, I had some doubts about it, and very, very, you know, I have doubts about a lot of things. Not really sure, because you know, it's an ongoing evolution, the process. But you know, I expressed my concerns to you, and you're like, cool, I dig it. You know, you understood where I was going with the balance and all that, and to me that was really big, and that's what really made this bike almost, I'm not going to say perfect, but you know, just flows really nicely, because it was not just my perspective, it was my perspective and your perspective, and coming together to really build this machine. Ultimately, well, yes, this is your bike. I built this bike really in the style that I would build a bike for myself. You know, I would keep it this tall and everything, and it is my bike even though it belongs to you. And that, I mean, I guess that's just what my style would be, and that's what you place trust in me to do that, and I am honored that you placed that trust, and it's even better that at the end of it, you were also stoked on it, you know?
Hell yeah, man.